This is Impact Healthcare, people and strategies that are disrupting the health benefits industry. And now, here's your host, healthcare benefits industry expert and the originator of the transparent health benefits movement, Lester Morales.
Welcome to a solo episode of the Impact Healthcare podcast. I wanted to record this because I've been so fired up since last week that I had to get something off of my chest and really start engaging this conversation because it makes so much sense, but it's not as prevalent as I would like to think. So the foundation of this conversation is the theory between bringing healthcare closer to employers and employees. What do I mean by that? Who decides how much an MRI costs? Think about that. Who's having that conversation? Well, most of you are accessing an MRI through your health plan. Your health plan typically is administered and has access to a BUCA network, right? Blue Cross, United, Cigna, Aetna, Humana. Now, if you think about that, you are utilizing that network and you're utilizing that network contract. That network contract is an agreement between the health insurance carrier and that provider. And so by you utilizing that health insurance carrier, you're utilizing their network, and therefore you are utilizing that contract. Now, the problem behind this fundamentally, and we talk about this, and a lot of employers and advisors do what's called a network discount analysis. That's how a lot of folks are deciding what carrier, what network do we utilize? Now, you're going to look at that and ask the question, well, why do I choose one network over the other? There's typically two things that most carriers will brag about the most in regards to their carrier. Number one is the size of their network, right? We have every Dr. Jones in the network, every hospital in the network. So you're going to do what's typically called a geo access or a provider disruption analysis to understand I'm utilizing this network and I'm considering this other one. And how does the match up to the people my employees and their families are seeing today? The other thing that carriers will brag about is their network discount. What discount are they getting off of the billed charges that hospitals are charging? Now, if you've never seen or heard of billed charges or what a hospital internally calls a charge master, this is typically the book of fees, right? This is that big number when you see your EOB that a Tylenol is costing $9 or an MRI is billed at $5,000. Well, at the end of the day, that is what's called a billed charge. That's the big number. You're not going to pay that number, but they have to give a discount to that carrier, right? So that's the kind of the top down. The problem with this overall strategic approach is we have no idea what the billed charges are, and they're different from hospital to hospital to hospital, and there's no transparency on there. And unfortunately, it puts the health insurance company who needs to provide the best discount, because that's what advisors are doing their analysis off of. It puts them and the hospital a little bit at a weird situation because the hospital wants to continuously make money, so does the insurance carrier. And so these two things keep ratcheting it up. The network discount, because the carrier is saying, I get so much volume coming through your hospital, I need a bigger discount. And the hospital is saying, well, I need to make money, so I just can't arbitrarily keep lowering my costs. Because when a hospital looks at what they bill, they're also having to take into consideration what are they actually collecting, right? This is the difference between, if you're thinking about this personally, your gross income versus your net income, right? After you pay for taxes and let's take it even a step further, your milk, your gas, all of that stuff, what's left in the kitty, right? In the piggy bank to be able to pay for bills. That's the same conversation that hospitals have to think about. They bill a certain number because they got to give a discount, and they know that the reality of it is the average person who what we call a deductible on our side, they're calling that an accounts receivable, right? So think about it. How many employees actually have the money to be able to pay their out of pocket, their deductible and their out of pocket max? And if you could think about this issue, this reality has been exacerbated over the years because the number one strategy that most employers and their advisors are taking to lower their health insurance cost is just increasing the out of pocket expenditures to their employees, right? Deductibles continue to go up, out of pocket maxes continue to go up, paychecks continue to have more taken out for that employee's healthcare coverage. And that pressure of that collection is put on the hospital. And stats are all day showing that employees and their families are skipping and delaying care because they can't afford it. Well, this isn't good for anybody. So the thing that has me so fired up is the fact that a lot of hospitals are now looking to draw a closer relationship to the employers, the real payers of healthcare. So I'm going to get on a soapbox here, but the reality of it is when we think about that word payer, most people use the word payer as synonymous with the health insurance carriers. Well, last time I checked, the health insurance carriers don't use their own money to pay a claim. Premiums are paid, they pay claims out of those premiums. The government reimburses for Medicare and Medicaid. So let's please stop using the term payer when referring to the health insurance companies. And they're really nothing more than administrator of funds and administrator of network access. So what I love about what is coming down the pike and that we're really putting a significant amount of effort and emphasis in this is the relationship and bringing that relationship closer between healthcare providers, hospitals, providers, facilities, and the plan sponsors, the employers themselves. So last week, I was the keynote speaker at the Memorial Care Presidential partnership meeting. Now, Memorial Care is a large healthcare system in Orange County, California, who have amazing leadership. And this amazing leadership has recognized that the value that they can add is by really sitting down with the employers in their community and making sure that as a system, they're providing the types of services, the types of access, the type of quality care that their community is needing. So they have set up their own levels of direct contracts between themselves as the healthcare system and self-insured employers, plan sponsors in their community. Now, I want everybody to take a step back and think about this. If you're a 150 employee employer, let's just say you're an HVAC company in Orange County, California, and a majority of your employees live in the service area that, in this example, Memorial Care Services. Well, the reality of it is, if your plan today has a $3,000 deductible and a $5,000 out-of-pocket max, that means that every single one of your employees who goes to utilize any healthcare facility, again, let's just stay with Memorial Care in this example, that they're accessing the hospital, they don't probably have an extra $3,000 or $5,000. So at that point, they go on a payment program with the hospital. And let's just say they're spending and paying $50 a week until they pay that off. Now, let's think about the pressure that is put on the hospital at that point. They are already did the service, right? So they did that knee surgery, they performed the MRI, whatever it is. So they have the expense, but they're not going to get paid until, now let's think about both portions of their payment. One is the payment from the plan, the employer, that in traditional models is taking 90 to 120 to 180 days to pay from the date of incurred to the date that it's actually paid. And that's the employer portion. And that's going through the normal administrative channels that a carrier has to get a claim in and actually pay it. And then the other portion of that is the member responsibility, that employee or family member. What is their copay, their deductible, their out of pocket? So if it takes 90, 120, 180 days to get the employer portion, and that employee is now taking $50 every week to pay that off, the pressure, the collection pressure, we call it collection risk, is on that healthcare system. Now, let's think about this. If this pen is what we call a deductible, right? It's an out-of-pocket expense. Now, let's run through the constituents here. If I'm the employee, I don't want to pay this deductible or out-of-pocket. I can't afford it. And if I can't afford it, I would much rather use $5,000 to go on vacation, pay my mortgage, whatever it might be. The employer doesn't want to charge it to their employees. They would love to give a better benefit at a lower cost. So they would love to have a zero deductible, zero out of pocket for their employees. And the hospital, Memorial Care in this example, they don't want to collect it. They're spending 20, 30, 40, 50 cents on the dollar trying to collect that dollar. So if the deductible, the employee doesn't want to pay it, the employer doesn't want to charge it, and the hospital system and the provider community doesn't want to collect it, then what are we doing? And if it's costing through the amount of effort that a hospital has to put in to collect, the duration of time value of money from the date that that was incurred to the date that it's actually paid, and having to chase it from the member, well, that's costing them dollars. So when we look at it, why are we charging an out of pocket if we know that a hospital is having to bill a certain number to give a discount, and that's still got to be collected? So by the time of it, we start with a billed number this high, and we actually get to an actual net paid amount that is something significantly lower than that. So what Memorial Care, through amazing leadership, and I was able to spend some time with their CEO, Barry, what they have done and noticed is, well, wait a second, we could actually have a closer relationship with employers in our community, give them an enhanced reimbursement, a better deal, and trade the fact that that plan sponsor, that employer, is okay with waiving the deductibles and the out of pockets for that member. Now, most employers are doing that as an option. They're saying, hey, you can go wherever you want, but if you go to these places in which we have enhanced relationships, we're going to waive your out of pocket. So it allows the best of both worlds. I still have choice as an employee, but I'm incentivized when I make a good healthcare purchasing decision. And so I'm scratching my head. Number one, this hospital system, Memorial Care, amazing leadership, amazing strategy, but we had a event. They hosted an event that I was the keynote speaker. There was tons of employers in the audience, but the majority of the ones that I talked to are either haven't considered it or have considered it and they shied away. And so the question that I want to really bring up on this solo episode is, if we can bring a relationship closer between hospitals and the employers and employees in their communities to benefit everybody, the employer, the employee, and the hospital system, why isn't this the norm? Why is this a conversation that a lot of you probably are hearing for the first time? And I got to say, if you're an employer out there and you have a personal relationship with the hospital in your market, these are conversations I would absolutely recommend you really, driving. And if you're a hospital system that's listening to this and you haven't considered this, this is a great opportunity to, one, do what your mission statement says, because the mission statement of most hospitals is to partner and improve the health of their community that they serve. The reality of this is most employers, and I'm talking 99, 98, 97% of employers, are utilizing an insurance carrier to access the same set of providers. They can access a bunch of different ways. We call it alternative reimbursement. How do we reimburse for that service being provided? So this whole strategy of direct contracting and trying to make this more efficient, we've termed and trademarked a master reimbursement arrangement. Now, this isn't a sales pitch. This is the reality that no matter if you're in an urban or a rural area, the reality of it is one of the largest risk to that hospital is their accounts receivable, their collections, right? Yes, they want to hire and retain the best employees. Yes, they have, medical malpractice, potential, but the reality of it is their accounts receivable, how much of the dollars that they've got out there to be collected, what percentage of that do they actually collect is a big, big, big risk for that hospital. So I thought that I would give you a couple of examples across the country that's driving. So in Orlando Health, a phenomenal partner to Rosen Hotels and Resorts, Rosen Shore being their insurance entity. And we've created Rosen Health to partner with other advisors and employers in that community. But Orlando Health has recognized this exact thing and offers a more enhanced reimbursement to employers through more direct relationships. Now, if you know anything about the Rosen story, over the last 30 years, they have saved over $540 million in healthcare dollars, utilizing a variety of innovative approaches, not using the major insurance companies. And part of this is an enhanced relationship with Orlando Health and other providers there in the Orlando market. So if you are an employee of Rosen, you are going to be recommended to go to a Orlando Health and partner providers. And in return, your out of pocket is very little to nothing. So imagine if a knee surgery is billed at $90,000 and the paid amount under a traditional is $45,000, a 50% discount. If you're spending 30 to 50 cents on the dollar trying to collect the dollar, if you're the hospital system, imagine you can give 20, 30% off of what your normal reimbursement is for the normal insurance companies and still make out better if the employers you're partnering with are okay eliminating the chase, the out of pocket that member would have to pay. So that relationship has created a scenario, the gold standard of employer health plan design is Rosen. And continuously, Orlando Health looks at this and says, I want more of these things. So they obviously wouldn't want to expand their relationship with other employers if they weren't also seeing economic gain. So the employer, Rosen in this example, is spending 20, 30, 40, 50% less than they would if they were on a traditional model. Their employees have a much better plan design, much lower cost, much richer benefits. And the hospital is enjoying a enhanced relationship with their employers, and they don't have to navigate that, normal worlds. In Owensboro, Kentucky, I have another client, Pittsburgh Tank and Tower Group, PTTG, who has partnered with healthcare providers, the flagship being Owensboro Health. That, again, the relationship is that PTTG, the plan sponsor, the real payer, says, we've got such an enhanced relationship with Owensboro that our employees can go there and pay nothing. So the PTTG, very blue collar, climbing water and cell phone towers, just the salt of the earth employee demographics, understand that if they engage with the advocates and they go to a Owensboro provider, their cost is eliminated. Now, Owensboro looks at this and says, well, I don't have to collect. And employers and employees in that community are experiencing better benefits. PTTG, an ESOP, an employee-owned company, has gotten to pump more money into that ESOP, benefiting all of their employees. So if you're an employee of PTTG, not only are you getting an enhanced plan design, you're getting more money dumped into your ESOP through a partnership with the healthcare community in your market. What an amazing approach. So there are signs of this in markets, but it is not as wide as I would like this to be. So again, we are focused in on this as an organization through our master reimbursement arrangement. But I wanted to host this podcast episode because we've now talking about big tier 1 markets, Southern California, tier 2 markets like Orlando, Florida, and even smaller, more rural Owensboro, Kentucky markets. And hospital systems and employers in all of these markets are benefiting from bringing a closer relationship between employers, their employees, and the health systems that service their communities. So an education around direct contracting, the fact that we can make this a win-win-win. Hospital systems get a better philosophy around their collections. They also get volume, right? People are coming into their doors. Employers get to lower the cost of the health benefits that they're offering to their employees while offering a better benefit. And those employees, they get their out of pocket eliminated, if not reduced significantly. Everybody wins. The only person that is not sitting at that table having the conversation is quite arguably the culprit of the continuous increases in healthcare costs. So I'm going to leave you with the notion. If you are not doing something to lower the cost of health care, your health insurance will continuously go up. So through a relationship with your local provider community, the local healthcare system, you can not only lower the cost of health care, you can impact positively the economics of the healthcare system in your community, drive down employee cost, provide a better benefit at a lower cost, and everybody wins. So I hope that this brief education around direct contracting and developing a relationship between employers and the healthcare systems in their community was valuable. We're going to have a series of guests on the podcast to speak more about it, what they're seeing, and some specifics. But this was on my mind because the event was amazing. The leadership at Memorial Care was amazing. Their community is responding to it. And when the community partners together to drive value and impact, everybody wins. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of Impact Healthcare. If you know an employer that should be thinking about this, or you know a healthcare CEO or executive, please forward this, because these are conversations that are going to spark innovation, and with innovation sparks change. So thank you again for listening to Impact Healthcare. We'll see you on the next episode.
You've been listening to Impact Healthcare, people and strategies that are disrupting the health benefits industry with Lester Morales. Remember, the journey to getting 20% savings on your healthcare benefits starts with total transparency. Remember to subscribe to the Impact Healthcare podcast on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts.